Well, welcome everybody to another Pickleball Happy Hour. This always just inspires me to come on here because we have the most wonderful guests and we have the most wonderful group to come on and listen to our guests and ask questions. But it's just something that I wanted to do when I started Pickleball Forum for Women, because I thought, wow, it's just so great to kind of get to know people on a sort of a different, more natural, authentic level. So Dottie Berry here, as usual, just kind of kicking off this evening. But we've got a tremendous guest tonight, and her name is Nicole Havlicek. Hey, let's give it up for Nicole. Nicole, you were one of the first people on YouTube that I started watching. And I guess there's no reason to wonder why that is. You have a huge following, and you've now got, is this right? Really? I saw it on your site, PrimeTime Pickleball, in 60,000 on YouTube. Is that right?
On YouTube, yeah, actually, I'm closing in a few hundred away from 70,000 as of today.
Oh my gosh. Well, I thank you for that update, because when I was looking last night, I do like to do a little bit of research, so I can ask you about these things. How long ago did you actually start this YouTube channel?
The first video was posted on YouTube October 2017.
Now that's a lot of people in that length of time. Is yours the most subscribed to Pickleball channel now?
Yeah, currently, yeah, number one in that category in terms of subscribers. I believe the next biggest is Pickleball Kitchen with Barrett. I think he's closing in on 40. So he's doing real well too.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of room in the space for people and the different way that they teach and share information. But let's face it, there's something about what you do that people really like, obviously. What inspired you to post that first, video?
Sure. I didn't know I was going to go into coaching. I always thought I was going to be in finance, and I was for a time. And I climbed up the ranks and I got the job that I thought I wanted. And I looked around and I really didn't like my life all that much. I guess finance was not for me. It's what I thought I wanted, but not what was my calling, and my heart wasn't in it. So I decided to just up and leave that, and I turned to tennis coaching, which I had never thought I was going to do. The entire time I was like, I played tennis. I'm like, I'm just a player. Like, I never really thought about coaching. But when I started, I just loved it. Like, I just loved it. Like, there was so much positive response. Like, you coach a player, you show them something, they get better at it, and then they're so happy about it. And it's just like, that was just like, wow, like I have the opportunity to really like impact someone. And it just was happening regularly, like daily. Before, in my job as an accountant, I just I made the report and it went in a drawer, and then like that was it. So that's really
kind of long term, that financing part, and to be able to have that impact in the moment. Nothing like that. But you're talking about tennis, and I don't know if you noticed, but we're here with pickleball. No, I'm just
I was getting to that.
That's what I was going to let people know about, where you came from to play tennis, because I don't think maybe a lot of people know where you're from originally.
Sure. So yeah, apologies for us. That was maybe a bit too long of a backstory, but I was getting to your question. I hadn't forgotten. What I was, then I basically discovered pickleball during my tennis coaching. Someone suggested I come out and try it. I did. And I had a lot of experience in video at the time. I loved digital marketing. I was doing a bunch of stuff in that with tennis. And I looked around in pickleball and I saw, okay, there's some help out here in terms of videos. I think CJ had her channel, and Mark Renison for Third Shot Sports, and they were doing a good job in Pickleball channel. I just felt like there was room, and I feel like I could add to that. Like a lot of people, my students and my fellow coaches, they're like, Nicole, you're very technically focused, and you really try to get the complete picture. And I don't really make any assumptions about what people know, or I try not to. And I try to start like at the beginning of a point and then get to the end, and not start in the middle, so that they really like, and I just was kind of doing that naturally, and I didn't know that. So I got a lot of good feedback that way. And I just thought, I think I can help with this pickleball coaching online. So I met Jordan. We decided to just go ahead and do it together because, he was a very good player. And he still is, and he has really, really nice technique. And so that was helpful to show that. And yeah.
So you really didn't even understand at the time how special you were going to be. You were just doing what came natural in a sense. And once you found that calling, you started running with it, it sounds like. But let me ask you this, because you mentioned some really good people who have great videos out there, obviously, and do a great job in teaching the game. Yeah. What was it that you saw, though, that you said, look, they're great, I give them that, and yet I'm different. There's something I want to add to this scene out there, and this is what I see that I want to add?
That's a great question. I would say the biggest thing is just there was room for more. Like 3 channels can only do so much. So I thought I could be a strong, 4th or 5th or whatever I was at the time. I don't know that I was that we were the 4th. But yeah, kind of as I mentioned, I can go pretty deep on strategy, not to say they weren't, but I just feel like I could add to, there was really a need for more. People wanted to know more about pickleball, and I wanted to be part of contributing to adding to that content and that landscape. As far as, well, what was different about us was that we were a 2-person team, but now I'm back down to 1. But what I feel now is I'm actually really honored and, proud to that. As we said, I'm, currently have the most subscribers with PrimeTime Pickleball, and I'm a woman, so I'm really proud of that. And I do, it is as most fields are, they're, dominated by men. So along with you and others, like for example, CJ and such, it's nice to see a few women at the forefront, and I'm really honored to be part of that. And I do want to feature more women on the channel. I actually have some shooting lined up with women. And starting with myself. I haven't been on the channel much. That was in large part due to injury. But in the last 4 or 5 videos, it's been mostly footage of me. So that's kicking it off, and I want to feature other women as well.
Well, I love what you said about strategy, because I think there are a lot of people who do really good with specific skills. I think to really articulate strategy in a way in which people can grasp in a shorter video, at the time, because let's face it, you can't always have the longer ones and keep people's attention. Yeah. So to be able to pull that together is a real skill set. And I know you mentioned your injury, but I just want people to hear right now. I mean, I talked with somebody as an example the other day that's in a boot. And I said, you know what? You can still go sit at the pickleball court, and you can watch people at your level and watch what they're doing good and what they're doing not so good. And I promise you, you will learn something while you're in that daggum boot. And you don't and you'll engage with some people. So you don't have to feel like there's nothing I can contribute, because you have contributed hugely while you've been injured in it. But I understand that's really getting better, and we might see you play this year.
I really hope so. Like, I'm like dying to play, and I would love to play in a tournament. Like, I'm competitive by nature, and I want to be out there. I'd like to travel to more tournaments to meet people. It just hasn't been possible. So it's unclear, but I do keep getting better every day. So I just really have to listen to my body and let that guide me. But I'm hopeful. It's just been I just was so far gone that it's hard to tell where I'm at, but I'm dramatically better. I do some like light controlled hitting just mainly for the footage. I can't, respond to difficult shots and run too much. That would just be a mistake. But I look forward to when that's possible. Will it be this year? I don't know. I hope so, but I think next year is almost for sure. So that's really
Well,
exciting.
yeah, I mean, it's exciting for us to think we would see you playing at that capacity again. All the while, you've had a lot of time that you can devote to this end of it, so that's good. But one thing I really like that you said is to listen to your body. I work with a lot of people, and some of the pros and so forth, and a lot of the everyday pickleball people simply try to play when they're injured, and it makes it worse.
Yeah.
You can it's the smart thing to do is what you're doing, even though you love being on the court. And I get it. I get everybody loves being on the court. We've been challenged with the pandemic, when we, weren't being able to do our normal things. And so
Sure.
that's a challenge. So how do you mentally deal with these challenges? Because that's a big component that I find people don't want to dive into. It's scary to them, or whatever, but it's really important.
No, yeah, you make a great point. I do see lots of posts like on the pickleball forum and on Facebook elsewhere, like, oh, I'm having knee replacement. How quickly can I get back on the court? And that's really the wrong question to be asking. It's like, how quickly can I get back on the court while making sure I'm fully healed and I never have to deal with this again? Is like, really, that's the question you want to answer. It's not about, can you just get by? Because then you're just going to re-injure yourself. Your new knee will be shot long before it ever should have been. So it's kind of exactly what you said there. Like, yeah, I can't play, and that's been very difficult for me. I'm so used to it now, though. But what the reason I think I am is because I can stay engaged with things like this. I can make videos, I can write posts. I was going to the courts, and people ask me for advice. I was like helping Jordan with his technique, and other people with their technique and strategy. So there's lots of ways to stay engaged. You can also do visualization. You can, yeah, like you can still go to the courts. I know it's tough to be there and not play. I'm very intimately familiar with that feeling. Very, like, possibly top 1%, no understanding of what that's like. So, but you can go out there and engage, and like Dottie said, like, watch what's happening. Why are people winning points? Why are people losing points? And I would go one step further, because it's really hard to dissect that in real time. So what I do often, and where I get ideas for footage and courses and stuff like that, is I go on YouTube, watch pro matches, and I watch them and I'll watch points in slow motion. I'll watch it in real time, and they'll do something great, but I kind of like didn't exactly see how they executed it. So you go back, and you can Google like YouTube hotkeys or short keys, and you can do frame by frame forward, frame by frame back, 5 seconds forward, 5 seconds back, and then just really see. It's crazy how much information is right there. You just have to you just have to take time to look at it. Look at their footwork patterns. There's so much nuance to that. How they hit different shots, there's nuance to that. And these are all kind of things that I know from my tennis experience that I try to laser in on, break it down in a way that's digestible, and put it on YouTube. So maybe that's answers kind of the earlier question of where I can contribute, is that I really like doing that. And I know that's where the root of the information is, and I'm able to translate it in a way that people can understand.
I knew you would take my macro and give it some micro when I was talking about go and look and see what you can learn. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to give that to Nicole. She'll fill in the gaps, and that's just such a great thing that you just shared, because even as you were saying, slow down the video and watch it. I'm sure some people through their minds were going, and how in the heck do you do that? So you just shared with them, just Google how to watch it frame by frame. All that information on how to do those technical things is out there. But that's a great way, go back and really watch pros, or even people playing at the level you're playing at, if you're going to do tournaments or just, playing. And that brings us to some things. First of all, though, before I go to this next thing about some level up tips, I want y'all to take a look at Nicole's background, that great background she's got. She's been working on her lighting. Doesn't she look great? Yay for Nicole. I said, yeah, your face looks super, hat or no hat. And so she's got items in that background, but
Yeah.
hey, she's going to take tips on anything that you might suggest, and she'll consider it, for her background. That's a cool way to
Yeah,
look
this
at
is
it.
brand new. Pickleball Forum for Women is the first to see this background. I just had these two lights actually go out, so that's something I have to work on. There was like a blue color here and a fuchsia color over here. This is it's the draft one. So what Dottie was saying is, if you email me at Nicole@primetimepickleball.com with any like Amazon links or whatever links to things you think I should consider to put on these shelves, because that's still a work in progress, but I'm in my first or second draft right now. So if I'd love to hear what people think. Design is not my specialty. Pickleball instruction is. So, and this is going to be featured in YouTube videos. So this is kind of a new development in terms of what's coming.
That's
So
awesome.
I would love some help with that. And I would love you all to help me with that if you could. And I'm sure you have a better eye for design than me. But I have my PrimeTime pickle here, a couple of balls. So I'm like, I'm trying.
Hey, you know what?
Owl
I'm
for
gonna
wisdom.
screenshot this right now. Can I get it without doing all the, I'm kind of snapping them as we go along, and I'm gonna post that and say, what do you think Nicole should have in this background or something? But again, before I get to the leveling up and some tips on that, I want to back up just a little bit, because you came here to play tennis from Canada. How did that happen? I mean, what's the story? I love the stories behind things. So what's the story behind that?
Sure. I played tennis competitively as a junior from probably the tender age of 9 or 10 till I graduated high school. And I fortunately got a scholarship to play at UC Berkeley. And that was an awesome 4 years. I learned a ton. That's a lot of where my mechanics and strategy knowledge comes from. There's certainly a lot of differences from tennis, but a lot of it's very similar. Yeah, so that's kind of the synopsis. And I loved California, so I stayed.
Yeah, but okay, 9 or 10. I mean, was your family into tennis, or?
I'm a bit my family's a bit unique that way in terms of my family's not into tennis. I was like your classic tomboy into sports. My sisters were not. They were not interested in that. Somehow I also fortunately got a lot of the athleticism came my way among the siblings for whatever reason, genetically. So I was fortunate there. And yeah, I guess my mom told me this story, I don't know, years ago, but definitely as an adult, that her friends would keep coming up to her and saying like, Nicole is like one of the most athletic kids I've ever seen. You have to get her into some kind of sport. And I didn't know that conversation was happening, but I was in all kind of sports. And then some tennis coach, I guess, maybe took more of an interest in my ability. And I kind of went that route for, that's kind of the way I remember it. And I loved it. So, and it's taken me a long way. And I'm very happy that I made that decision such a long time ago, and that I stuck with it, because, there's ups and downs along the road. There's a lot of growing pains, because when you're much like pickleball, when you're having to face a competitive challenge and how you deal with that, it brings up some stuff that's tough to look at, but looking at it is key so that you can move forward on the court and in life. Like there's so many lessons on the court that I definitely brought to my life that have made a big positive impact.
Well, we always hear that how you do anything is how you do everything. So when things come up, how is it that we deal with a certain situation? And if the same thing keeps coming up and we don't like it, I mean, when I used to coach people just in relationship or anything, one of my favorite questions was, how's that working for you? And they'd start laughing and they'd go, well, it's not. And I go,
right.
Well, that's the first step into changing it, because if it's not working and you recognize that, let's figure out where we're going, whether it's sports or life or on court, off court, the mental part. And so, yeah, that's good to remember. And just that, you had somebody that did recognize something in you. and move you forward. Because as we know in pickleball, a lot of women that are older in playing, I'm one of the older ones, but I had opportunities, to play sports. But a lot of women haven't. And what have you recognized as far as women becoming empowered through playing pickleball? Because this is one of my favorite subjects, and I'm working on a project about empowered, how pickleball is really, connecting, engaging, electrifying women's lives. It's pretty amazing. So what have you recognized through that with the women you work with?
Yeah, just like you said, when you go out onto the court and you start to realize that, okay, when I do this happens, and then when I do that, this happens, and I can what I do has an impact on how things go out here on the court. And I think they just start to realize that, when you come with a plan, things go better. Just like in life, when you have a strategy, if you're just going around letting life happen to you, you are going to have a hard time getting from point A to point B, because you don't have a point B. So you're just roaming around point A. So I feel like, that's the kind of what I say is I like try to help people get better at pickleball, and the skills they learn along the way will help them in their lives. And I think that's exponentially true for women, because we're just not necessarily like always encouraged, or haven't been historically encouraged to step up, take charge, move forward, poach through the middle, you take that forehand, like we're kind of like pushed off to the side. And I think that that's kind of changing. And I love to see, like, I go out there, and I've been at the court where I've had to like stand up for women who I feel are not really getting the court time or something like that they should be. And not everyone likes it when I say that, a certain gender in particular, but hey, I'm gonna do it. So and then I've had women come up to me and say, thank you. Like I just kind of let things like that happen, and it happens all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I understand. I've been on both, that end as well. So I really like what you're doing here, Dottie. This is incredible. And I think bringing women together so that we can rise up together is never a bad thing, which is also why I want to bring more women on the channel. I really think it's very important.
Yeah, in starting Pickleball Forum for Women, I stressed to women that I'm not anti-men in any way. I mean, my dad was a man, and I love him dearly,
Sure.
rest in peace, So it's not about being against something. It's kind of like in life in general, people be talking about, I don't like this. I said, I really don't care what you're against. Tell me what you're for. That's what I want to hear. What are you for, and why are you for it, and what inspires you, and what compels you? So, lots of times we just, though, I think as women, sort of need a safe space where we can gather and share things and, talk about things without perhaps eye rolls about some of the things we want to discuss. And I also, again, I go back to this strategy and plan, but I love this because, I think guys are sometimes, through their sports experiences, younger and through the years, and larger numbers having that opportunity, are used to looking at what's their plan in their sport. But how do you coach? I'll just share with you, I took some lessons from some people, and I wanted to know, I got with them and I said, can we talk about a plan for how I can move forward in a strategy? And they looked at me like they didn't even have a clue as to what I was talking about, because they were out there, really working on skills and this and that. But to be able to communicate a plan for moving forward in a strategy, how important do you find that, and how do you go about doing that with people you coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. Like, it's one thing to show someone a new technique, but and show them in the lesson, but then they do need to work outside of the lesson to improve that technique, because you do need the correct repetition. So I like to talk about a plan that, involves even some drop hitting, or some ball machine, but the drop hitting is accessible to anyone. So I think that's like an easy one. And you really slow things down. There's this misconception that like if you just kind of let the ball sit there, that it's not the same as an oncoming ball. And no, it's not the same. But if you're not able to correctly impart all that energy onto the ball yourself, like having the rebound effect help you, that's just easier. So if you're able to impart it on your own with a ball that has no energy on it, then it's going to be translate fine when the ball is coming your way, because it has a little more energy. The timing might be a little bit of a challenge, but you get some help from the rebound effect when a ball is coming your way. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, but you just want to slow things down and really go in a progression. A lot of people want to work on things at top speeds, and you have to kind of go down to a level of speed and distance, bring the distance closer and work it out, at those speeds before you can progress further. Now that's technique wise. And then when you are working on strategy, you want to have a plan for every point so that you're playing the point and like the point's not playing you. And so I don't know if that really answers the question. Did I go off tangent there, or does that work?
No, I get what you're saying, and I like what you said about the drop of the ball, because what's the point of shooting fast balls at somebody if they can have no success? And it's just it overwhelms them. So I think when you break it down like you're talking about, and people have success, then they can build on that success. And it sounds like that's what you're trying to do with, the plan, the strategy, and playing the point rather than having the point play you. Tell us tweak that out a little more so people know what that means. How does that look?
Okay. How does that look? Okay. So, every point starts with the serve and the return, and depending on what team you're on. But basically, like, really the number one goal for each team should be to advance to the net, because at the net you have the most opportunity to do damage and impart your will on the other team. And if they're back, great, your team's at the advantage. And if they're at the net, you're neutral. But if they're at the net and you're back, you're at a disadvantage. So your number one goal should be to like safely transition to the net and make as few mistakes as possible on your way to doing that and to building your attack and ending the point. So those are the kind of the phases of the point. And a lot of people come out and they're just like, I'm just gonna it's gonna come here and I'm gonna hit it wherever, and it's come there and I'll hit it wherever. You really want to boil it down to like, when I see this type of shot, my options are this for this reason and that for that reason. And you want to have that type of plan for every type of shot you're going to hit. So you want to have everything have a purpose that's going to move you forward in the point. If you're not doing that, then it opens up, they're probably doing that to you. And it's kind of at that point comes out to who's going to execute it best. But your best chance of playing your best and then coming out with a win, hopefully, is to have an idea of what you want to do to your opponents with every shot. It's kind of a waste to hit one ball mindlessly, because that's just a wasted opportunity.
Well, I like what you said about moving safely through the transition zone, because one of the worst things I ever heard in the beginning was run to the kitchen line. Well, first of all, kitchen line really didn't even communicate anything to me, because I'm like, now non-volley zone line, that communicates some kind of something about, okay, I get it now. But I think a lot of us were taught these cliches, I would say, and then we have to unlearn some of that so we can make the transition zone our friend. And no, we do want to move up there as quickly as possible, but we want to do it safely. And if we run through the ball and the ball goes flying past us, that's really not a good thing. So yeah. How do you view that transition zone? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's like that's the kind of the $1 million question in pickleball. I view that transition zone as a shot that you it's hard to love, but you want to be the player that falls in love with it. because that will separate you from the pack, because it's tough. Your feet are exposed. You're often gonna have to be digging shots out of your shoelaces, but it's not, when you think about the pickleball court, it's really not that big of an area. And when you're only really, you have half of it in doubles, all of those shots are makeable. And if you want to learn to love it, hit probably more than one shot from there on your way to the net, 1, 2, 3 if you have to. But if you're like already 3 feet away from the kitchen, you're basically in. So with 2 like really decent drops, you're in. But you want to fall in love with it. You don't want to be scared of it. So it's the number one, is talking back to a plan. You really want to, in my opinion, spend the most amount of your like drilling time in that zone, because that's going to benefit your dinking, everything, because it's harder than anything else. So if you're really good from there, it'll just kind of ripple effect, wave through the rest of your game. You'll be better at a lot of other things indirectly without having worked on them. So in terms of a plan, that's probably my number one of where you want to look at. And I say that with the kind of the assumption, possibly incorrectly, that your serve's pretty good, your return's pretty good, you make those deep and consistently most of the time, and your dinking is reliable. Like in terms of a plan, like because I feel like I didn't answer that question as well as I would have liked to. Look at those things first. And then once those are like pretty solid, of course, you always want to drill them to improve them and keep them sharp. Then you want to spend a lot of time in that transition zone, in my opinion. And one thing I like to say is the thing about like drilling has this big negative connotation towards it. And I used to feel that too as a junior, but I just got so used to it that it didn't faze me anymore. But you can do like game-based drilling all the time. You just start in the situation that you want to work on, feed, and like play, and that's how that becomes, all of a sudden that makes drilling a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. No, I like what you're saying about this in that transition area. I always hated when I heard people call it no man's land. Well, that didn't make it sound like anything you wanted to stay in. And so I really learned that I started calling it land of opportunity. So I was working to fall in love, with that area in that transition zone, and not be afraid of it, and still working to master that. And so I think some of that goes into what I was really talking about leveling up and all. But I know we've got some questions, and Carly's one of our great moderators. Thank you, Carly, for being here. And you want to check in on some of those questions, Carly?
Yeah, sure. First comment was from Beth in Lake Oroville. She said, Deb Harrison is old school too, but PrimeTime is my go-to. She loves it. Thank you. I think we all love that here. And
yeah,
she says so positive, Dottie. Yeah.
Yes, Deb. Deb was there. I apologize. I forgot to mention Deb. Yeah.
And then Pam, thanks for all you do, Nicole. Christy says, go Bears.
Go Bears.
Yeah. Beth is wondering if you live in the Bay Area now.
I do live in the Bay Area. Yes.
And then I had a question, but I'll get to that one after. And then Rachel was wondering, do you have any drills for learning how to dig those shots out of your shoelaces? Because she needs them bad. LOL.
Yeah, I do. Oh God, I wish I had I know we have videos on this, but okay, I'll just talk you through it. So have one person stand up at your partner stand up at the non-volley zone line, and you stand, let's say like not in the middle of the transition zone, maybe a little bit closer. It kind of depends on your skill set out of that area to start. If you're okay starting like midway in the transition zone, then do that. But if you're missing every other shot, you start a little bit closer, maybe let's say like, I don't know, 4 feet off the kitchen line. Have someone gently send it to your feet, and you're going to drop it in the kitchen. Once you're really good at that, you're getting like 8, 9 in a row, no problem. Stay there, have them pick up the pace a little bit, and their target is your shoelaces, right? And then once you're good at that speed, pick it up another level. And then once they're kind of really hammering it pretty good at your shoelaces, that's when you can then like move back. And then they should take the speed down a notch, because now you're further away, and they should aim for your shoelaces again. And that's kind of how you want to progress. That's coming back again to the plan, which is like such a great question. You just want to dial all the variables down and get comfortable at that kind of that easier threshold. And then once you lock that in, move up a click, not 5 clicks, not like all the way to the most difficult shot. You know, either pick up the speed or increase the distance, one of those two.
So Nicole, let me ask you though, I mean, this is just an observation that I saw early on. Why? Because I kind of looked at myself as one of these people, but when people are, you know, working to move up, feeding the ball is a real skill set. And
Yeah,
a lot of
true.
people, I mean, I'll just be real honest. If you can't feed the ball to the person consistently, then they can't work on it. You're just kind of like running all over the place. And I first saw this in camp. Yeah, like me in Tyson's first camp. You know, I was like all over the map. And he would always say to me too, Dottie, you have so much more time than you realize. And now, as I've gained in skill, I realized what he was talking about. I thought, I will never understand it. These balls are flying around everywhere. And but coming from a coaching background, even though it's in a different sport, I knew I've got to get some help and consistent help, you know, not just like go to camp, whet your appetite, which is great, but then it's implementation time. So what do you do when people really are challenged with feeding you the ball, or you're challenged with feeding the ball, however we want to look at it?
Are you talking about, when you say feeding, do you mean out of the hand, or if they're the person that's supposed to be hitting your shoelaces in what I just described?
Yeah, you know, you're the person who's over here and you're trying to feed them that shot so they can work it, and then they're going to turn around and do the same for you. Yeah. So sometimes I know that's when you really do need that ball machine.
Yeah, that's true. And also 100% know what you're saying. Yeah, you want to find someone who's equal to you, and or some, you know, if it's someone better than you, it could be a coach, and you know, you might have to pay them, or invest in a ball machine, or have people of even skill and just have that feeder designated person for that time, which will be them for a time and you for the time. Have a lot of balls on hand, so that, you know, if they miss or you miss, then the next one can come out of their hand. And if they can't, you know, then feed it reliably out of their hand, then come back and we have to have another conversation. But if they're the, like, you know, setter, but they're having to deal with setting a ball that you've just responded to and their control's not the best, they should be a lot better out of their hands. So just have them a lot of balls on hand.
So rather than trying to hit with a paddle,
rather than them, you know, they're
okay,
right. Like if I'm like, you know, you or me or a coach, we can put it on the shoelaces, but I understand 100% what you're saying. You're dealing with someone who's maybe your skill, who doesn't have that control. You hit it awkwardly and then they can't, you know, put it back where they're supposed to. That's an issue. And that's kind of one way to resolve that, is just to have a lot of balls around, so you're not chasing them down. They can just go to the basket and go again.
Yeah. So
but careful with rolling around under your feet. That's a big caveat. I want to make sure that you push those out of the way. Don't. That's the one challenge.
Absolutely. That's the easiest way to get injured, and always be certain that somebody's looking before you throw a ball at them. I've seen so many times somebody's and I've had this happen to me before, you know, all of a sudden they turn around and I've tossed the ball at them, but, you know, just wait a half a second longer and make sure that they're facing you, even, you know, like when a point's over or something and it's time to give them the ball to serve, you know, and they're walking back and, you know, you can see a person trip over it. So just really be careful. So back to the sort of leveling up. Transition zone, obviously. But what about if you're, you know, you're not quite a 3-0 player and you're trying to get to 3-0 and then 3-0 to 3-5. What delineations do you see that are particularly important as people move forward up the levels?
I would say making sure that you're able to get your serves and returns reliably deep. They don't have to be very hard. That's step one. Depth is key. So before you go gangbusters on learning to love the transition zone, I would start there. And it's super easy to drill the serve because you feed it out of your hand anyway. And that will also help your forehand, because the serve and a forehand are very similar. So that's a good way to really dial in your control on ground strokes, is with serving. And it'll also help your serve and your ground stroke. Then go to dinking. Like, can I control it up here? Can I tap it back and forth? Can I move them around the kitchen? Can I add a little spin while moving them around the kitchen? Can I hit it short in the kitchen, deep in the kitchen? Those are really control at the kitchen line is a good place to start. And you're both really close. That already takes care of the distance problem. And that's a very common scenario you should be trying to achieve in pickleball. One of the main delineations in my view is that, are we all four of us making it up to the kitchen, or is there a miss happening before that happens, or most of us are getting stuck banging out of the no man's land? That's one of the first kind of breakthroughs that you need to make, is I'm going to drop it, I'm going to get in, I'm going to work on my dinking and build up to the attack.
Gotcha.
So before the transition zone becomes a huge thing to do, let's make sure we know how to work at the net. We can take dinks out of the air, things like that.
Yeah. Another thing that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it actually kind of leads into a question that I had there, Nicole. Do you have a favorite combination shot or a strategy that you can share with us?
A combination. If you like push it at their shoelaces and then kind of like roll middle, like outside to middle or middle to outside, because then you get the person moving to cover it in the middle, and then you can kind of do a little faster dink on the other way and get them to move this way, and then they have to cover that way, or get them going a little out wide first to create a gap between the two of them and push in the middle of them.
Flick through the middle. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. It can be a flick through, or it can be as simple as more of a flat, often it's going to be below the net. So yeah, the flick through, that's a go-to. Hopefully they hit it higher, which would be nice than just kind of shove it, create an opening and then shove it in there. That's kind of like a great combo.
So grab the gap quickly is what you're saying. You've created
create a gap and then try to
opportunity.
Create a gap wherever you can, and then as quick as you can try to get it through that gap. And they may like cover it or whatever, but there's a scramble happening over there, so there's a chance that's going to fall apart if it doesn't on that 1-2 combo. Keep pressing them, and you could generate a forced error out of that. Forced errors are like gold. Yes. Like you don't have to hit the winners. Matches are won and lost on minimizing unforced errors and creating forced errors.
No doubt about it. And you cause that when you cause them to have to move their feet.
Yes.
Trying to recover and so forth can get the feet crossed up, hopefully that they don't fall down. But you know what I'm saying? You're trying to get them a little bit off balance, because when we're off balance, oftentimes we forget to see the ball into the paddle, and that unforced error happens, because that's the ultimate. You're there, you're ready to make the shot. I should say, I'm there, I'm ready to make the shot. And then I go, whoops, I didn't do the C that Lee Whitwell talks about so much, and seeing that ball right into my paddle. I mean, I think I am, but the minute I miss it, I know what I did. It's like, right. I never even saw that. I was looking across to where I wanted to go. And that's really frustrating when you get to where you want to be. When I get there and I know I busted my butt to get there and had several good shots in a row, and then the unforced error on that fifth one does me in. It's like, how do you deal with that part? What do you do to kind of
That happens a lot. Like, yeah, you've just handled all the tough shots, and then like
Yeah.
you miss that the easier one. And I definitely have written emails about that, and that's something you can do to people. I even said at one point, like, yeah, I press them, and then I'm like, okay, you're in that rhythm, you're in that, I'm moving, I have to get it, I have to move my feet, and then I'm just like, okay, here's an out of rhythm shot that's technically way easier than any other shot in the last 7 I've just sent you. Let's see how well you can switch rhythm, right? So that's something you can drill too. It's just like, okay, I'm pressing, whoop, here's a soft one.
Have you got a specific video on that? Maybe that needs, I think I've missed it if you do, because I was going to say, okay, send me the link. But if you haven't, that's a good one to do, don't you think?
That is a good one.
How many times do we have that happen?
All the time. The pros do it too. It happens. It's a great strategy. The pros are susceptible. I see it all the time. Like you're in this rhythm, even though it's a difficult rhythm, and then switching gears, it's just the gear switch. The fact that you have to make a gear switch, that recalculation for whatever you miscalculated, and that leads to an error. I don't have a video on it, I don't believe, but that's a good one. I'll try to make.
Okay, so you do that one, Nicole, and you post it for the first time in Pickleball Forum for Women. And then we'll always own that. Like, she posted it first for us.
Okay. All right, I will. I'll get that on the list. I'm not sure when, but that's a good one.
Okay, we're going to hold you to that, though. We're going to be looking for it. But
boy, I got homework. Assignment.
There you go. Hey, Carly, you got any more questions there? I know we're getting close to the hour, Nicole. We try to, keep it at the hour just to be respectful of your time and everybody else's. But we want to get in anything. I do want Carly to put your link in there. I had it in the emails, hyperlink to your site and everything. And let's talk a little bit about your course and on the third shot. I love that, your course is dealing with double strategy. As we've talked before, Hella Spar is one of my favorites and yours too. And but you all really key on double strategy a lot. And I think people really need that. So talk to us a little bit about your course, how that came about.
The course is called Dominating Doubles. I have it linked up at dominatingdoubles.com. That'll take you right there. It's really an A to Z complete system blueprint on how to play winning doubles from in every scenario that you will face on the pickleball court. Also how to adapt, because every time you're on the court, your partner, it could be different. Your opponents they have different strengths and weaknesses, as does your partner. And how do you fit as a team? So it's always your Gingrich puts it really well, and I've said it too over the years coaching, it's always a puzzle you have to solve. Every game could be different from one game to the next because they have different strategies. So how do we adapt to that? And you're playing against a different team the next game. You might have to play totally differently. And you might want to, your favorite shot might work like gangbusters on 9 out of 10 of your opponents, but for whatever reason, that one team over there just loves to deal with that. They have no problem with it, so how to adapt. So that's the whole premise of, here's what you're going for, the overall plan of winning double strategy, and then how to read and how to adapt to different situations and be a problem solver out there. So that was the aim of that course. And I'm really proud of it. I feel like we did a really good job with it.
Well, I've got it. And so, I really highly recommend that you all get that course and, get on it. I mean, if, some people honestly don't want to dive into things like that. And we have to be respectful. That's just not where they're at. They don't want it, need it, but I need it. So I'm always looking for any gold nugget. Hey, is that Rachel raising her hand? Oh, do you want to unmute Rachel and ask something? We can do that too. Hang on.
I don't really need to add. I was just saying my husband and I, we want to come to that doubles thing for sure. So I was just saying yes.
So this is
That's
the
great.
online course that you have, right, Nicole?
Yeah, this is the online course,
Yeah.
doubles.com. I do get asked about live clinics a lot. I'm not presently able to do them due to my injury. And if that were to, if that should be happening in the future, I'd announce that via my email list, which you can find a link for that on the homepage of my website, primetimepickleball.com.
And Nicole, I actually went through every single one in that course, all the videos. It did take, because my husband and I would watch it kind of on the weekends, and then whatever we would just pick what we wanted at that time. And most of it we progressed through, but we would also go in and pick certain things like stacking or something, right? And we'd be able to put that into play. It was so well organized. The video quality was awesome. The audio was great. All the info is there. It's easy to navigate. And I'd say it's like the best I've seen out there.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's this tons of hours into that, and for that reason. And I don't regret a single second of it. And that was my goal. So just thank you for saying that, because that's exactly whenever I was working on it late at night or whatever, I'm like, that's what I would want people to say about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm really, that was fueling me forward. So I'm really happy to hear that. But like Dottie said, it's great if you want to dive in, but I've had people buy it and say, wow, this is just like a lot. And I really might maybe just want to go out there and have fun. Like, and can I get a refund? Yeah, no problem. Like, I get it. There's nobody has said, oh, it's bad. This is terrible. Give me a refund. But it might not be, if you don't want to dive in that deep, that's totally fine. But a lot of people do. And that's why I wanted to make sure that they could have that experience.
But I found even if you don't want to do that really deep dive into it, there was still tons in there that you could just go to, just to even go back to basics and starting to, take one aspect of it and think, I'm going to work on this today, and watching it prior gets it better in your brain to then actually put it into.
They watch it before every tournament. They go through the whole thing again before every tournament. I was like, wow, that's just a great idea. And yeah, it is progressive, but you can't, it is, it kind of works through a point, right? Like serve, return, and third shot and all that. So if you're like, okay, I really want to work on dinking, you can just start at the dinking section if you want and go through that. Like, you won't be lost. So, but yeah, there's different ways you can approach it for sure.
And I guess the silver lining of your injury, Nicole, is that you've had the time to do this. I mean, think about the time you put into it. And when people are both playing tournaments, that's rigorous, and I've looked at, I remember Lauren Stratman when she came on talking about, like, look, y'all, this is not like it's not a cakewalk, and she's trying to move up. So she's playing every tournament, and it's not like she was being able to pick and choose and all this kind of stuff. And that's brutal, being on the road like that. So you just made good use of your time, and that goes to your tenacity, I think, and your mental game. And this is what I've just always said, off court is often just as important as on court. It's not like, it's like apples and oranges, but apples and oranges are both good, and they're fruits, and they're good for you, and all that kind of thing. So it's not like you can kind of leave one behind, but you were forced to leave one behind for a while.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You just kind of got to pivot and work with what you got. And that was my idea. And I'm glad it's helpful. Super happy to hear stuff like that. Cause that was, like I said, my vision for what people would say about it. So,
well, pivot, that's a great word. That was my word for last year. And, I always just enjoy having some kind of thing that you concentrate on. So you did a good pivot and moved into what's worked for you. Carl, you were going to say something?
One last question. I'm noticing the hoodie that you have on. Is that merchandise available to get through your website as well?
Yeah, it is. If you go to the site, primetimepickleball.com, and click on gear and then apparel. Sorry, I don't have like a direct link to shoot, but yeah, this one is available. It's the men's hoodie, and there's a women's hoodie, and there's the best sellers by far the moisture wicking shirts. People seem to love those, obviously, because they can play in them and they are sweat friendly, I guess, as you can say. But yeah, so this one's on there. The moisture wicks available in like a few different logo colors. Yeah, I was really happy. I just, because my mom, you know how that came about? My mom was like, hey, can I get a PrimeTime shirt? And I was like, oh, okay, mommy, I've been planning on getting this store launched. Let me just go ahead and do that. I thought it was gonna take a lot longer. I like whipped it together in like 4 or 5 hours and ordered her some shirts. So thanks, Mom. And now people
Awesome.
get to buy them. So it's great.
Is she getting a cut of that for payback for tennis lessons or what? Come on, Mom. Yeah, no, that's great.
Love t-shirts, and she's gotten to see me a lot more because I've spent a lot of time in Canada as of late, mainly due to COVID, and because this allows me to do it from anywhere, so I'm not limited to being here all the time. I can do videos from Canada. So
Where are you in Canada?
Just basically Toronto, just a suburb of Toronto. That's where I grew up, born and raised.
Oh,
That's awesome.
I
Well,
was in-
again, go ahead, Carly.
so Ontario. I lived in like Oakville, St. Catharines. My parents are in Grimsby. My sister's out in Smith Falls, and yeah.
You're very familiar with the area.
Yeah. Yeah, we have some other Ontarios.
Yeah, not like it doesn't come up, and people are often like, oh my God, you're Canadian. Yep.
Like, do you know John?
Yeah, do you know John? You have to throw a flag on the website. Proudly Canadian.
So Nicole, I want to end with one last question. It's something I always like to ask people, and we never know what answers are going to come out. But is there anything you can share with us about Nicole that is not out there publicly that we just, kind of, I mean, Lucy Kovalova shared with us about she was into ballroom dancing and ended up into tennis and made her mind up. She was going to be serious about that ballroom dancing, So we find out unique things about people sometimes. Anything you can share with us that we don't know about Nicole?
Oh my gosh. You know what's going to happen is I'm going to say something and I can't think of what yet. And I'm going to we're going to end the call and I'm going to be like, oh, I should have said that. I'll think of something later. Man, ballroom dancing, I can't compete with that. Oh, Dottie.
That wasn't your forte, was it?
I'm falling down because all I can think about is ballroom dancing now.
Oh, we have another comment here from Beth while you're thinking about that. She says, thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate your videos. Go-to for self and for students. And and I think we got the rest of the comments in there too now. Yeah.
And we're going to be reminding people about make the shelf with Nicole. Make the shelf. You got to come up with an item that is something that's so good, an idea is so great that she's not going to be able to resist it. I don't know. Maybe you'll end up having multiple shelves and like pan around the room or something, that it'll be just so good, the ideas that people come up with. But anyway, so we put you on the spot, and that's always a kind of fun thing to do. But
we did learn about the t-shirts. I have one.
What about the t-shirts?
Oh yeah, the t-shirts in your mom
store. That's not bad.
I like it. I didn't know if you wanted to build upon it like we do in pickleball, and build upon that. But that was so good.
Okay, I have one. It's kind of embarrassing. So being a pickleball coach, like I presently cannot hit like a two-handed backhand to save my life. I've never had a two-handed backhand in tennis. And I'm considering like developing one because I do see the benefits of it. It's just something in tennis, you either have a 1 or a 2, and you typically don't, if you have one, you don't know how to hit the other. That's extremely common. But in pickleball, you do see it going both ways quite a bit. So yeah, I don't have a two-handed backhand presently, but it's something that maybe I will develop.
Well, we'll be looking for that. Now, let me ask you this, though. Why do you believe it's something you need to develop in your toolkit?
I think it's really might be good for defense, for like block volleys in the transition zone. It could add some stability there. Yeah, that's kind of for blocking mainly, actually. I don't necessarily myself probably hitting a two-handed backhand ground stroke or anything like that, but possibly a two-handed like block volley, reset volley is something that I could develop, and I'll be making use of what I discussed, which is like the drop feeding and videos I do against the wall. And really, if I like lean into it pretty hard for a few months, it could probably get pretty good. So there's hope for us all.
Well, when you look at Riley and Lindsay Newman with that block two-hand, I mean, that's reason enough to say, wow, that's pretty powerful, because they can get back anything. And so, that's a shot to add to our repertoire. I like it. So
yeah, they're exceptional at that. But but then again, I don't think I've ever seen Riley really hit a one-handed so they probably, I don't know if they can slice it. Maybe, you just don't see it. That's kind of, what I was saying is it's one way or the other usually. But like someone like Ben Johns, who just hits everything from both sides, forehand, backhand, one-handed backhand, two-handed backhand. Like, yeah, he's a bit of an anomaly for sure.
Yeah.
And our last comment here is, I think Nicole needs one of the pickleball form for women paddles on her shelf.
Oh,
yeah, there you go. Okay, so do you have a paddle that you are aligned with? Most people are, up there. I know what we're saying. It's obvious what it is. But I guess the question is, if we get you one of our Pickleball Forum for Women paddles, would you consider putting that on your shelf? I mean,
I'll consider it. I'll put it on the list.
Okay.
Promises, but I do have I love the Engage Encore 6.0. I was sponsored by Engage. I'm no longer, but I do still love their paddles. So yeah, that's what that one is. It just happened. It has our logo on it, but it's the Encore MX 6.0. I will, like I said, I'm open to all options. So
well, once we know we're on the list, maybe if we get you one, here's the thing. A lot of people, Hella Spar, she's with Selkirk, and I gifted her one. And sometimes they just do it, as a way to show support for what we're doing in the Pickleball Forum for Women and Happy Hour and things like that. And people know that that's not, it's not the one they're representing, so to speak, but it gives us some coverage, and we're just trying to promote women.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I can't even say I'm representing. That's just the paddle I use. I'm not, it's really not anything more than that. Like I said, I'm open.
Okay, sounds good. Well, listen, we've gone a little bit over time, but it's really great to have you on here, Nicole. A pleasure to finally be face-to-face like this. Most of the time we're just chatting on Facebook or something along the way, or I'm just watching you on video. So here's the real deal. She's here tonight, and we really appreciate your time and the people who came, and we'll be getting this into our recordings, and real soon, in the next couple of weeks, we'll have all of those. It's really up. We've just got a few last tweaks, and then they'll be able to see you. So that's great. Thanks so much, Nicole.
Thanks so much, Dottie. I appreciate having me on. I really enjoyed it. Hope it was helpful for people.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll see y'all at the next happy hour. Okay. Bye for now. Bye.